Today's story takes us to Johannesburg, to a quiet, almost overlooked area called Walkerville, 30 kilometers south of Johannesburg. It's the kind of place where neighbors greet each other casually, where life moves slowly, and where nothing truly feels dangerous. But hidden in this peaceful landscape lived a woman whose actions would one day shock the entire province. Her name was Zaheera Boomgaard, aged 62 at the time of her trial, lived in a residential complex. Nothing flashy. She ran a small goat farm in Walkerville, but little is publicly known about her childhood. What we do know is that she had a long criminal record, mostly for fraud and theft. And these aren't just once-off mistakes. Her first fraud conviction was in 1979, followed by more in 1985 and 1987. Then, in 2013, she was convicted on 29 counts of fraud and theft. And this involved a man named John Naisby, who would later become central to her most infamous cases. At 62, many would expect a quiet retirement or modest routines. But her past hinted that she was far from ordinary. How did she meet her victims? The answer lies partly in modern loneliness and old-fashioned manipulation. First, Jamnandas Hakant Harry Nathvani, a 72-year-old British national. He met Zaheera online. According to court evidence, they connected via social media. The two chatted and got along like a house on fire. Harry was smitten and did not oppose when Zaheera lured him to Johannesburg with promises of friendship or kindness. In February 2020, he arrived by bus at Park Station in Johannesburg. Zaheera picked him up, brought him to her flat, and stayed the night. Neighbors later testified he visited multiple times and seemed to trust her. Then there was Lynette Josephine Mustafa, also 72 years old. She wasn't a stranger to Zaheera. They had known each other for years through church. The ladies were close. Lynette shared intimate information with her friend, as most friends do. Nathvani and Lynette were found badly burned and were identified via DNA testing. Both bodies were found near a road in Walkerville, not far from each other and within a few months of each other. Indications are that both were killed elsewhere and that Boomgaard dumped them next to the road before setting them alight. And there's a third figure, John Roberts Naisby, 83 years old, who disappeared in 2012 after visiting Boomgaard. His body was never recovered. She was acquitted of his murder, but he was very much part of the pattern. So how did she operate? How did a seemingly mild woman in her 60s commit such horrific crimes with cold calculation, luring via trust? With Nathvani, she used the anonymity of the internet. He came to her, stayed, used her things. She made him feel comfortable. With Mustafa, she used a long-standing church friendship to maintain proximity. After Nathvani's death, she used his bank card. There's 46 counts of theft from him alone. She made withdrawals, bought groceries, even after he was gone. She had in her possession wills that were clearly fraudulent. One will supposedly belonging to Mustafa named Zaheera as the sole beneficiary. Handwriting experts testified in court that signatures in the will did not match Mustafa's known handwriting. She manipulated narratives. For example, the day after Mustafa's death, an SMS was sent from Mustafa's SIM card to her neighbor claiming she was in hospital after a car accident. A deliberate lie, according to prosecutors. Prosecutors argued that she killed both victims elsewhere, then dumped their bodies on a remote road and set them alight, burning them beyond recognition. For Nathvani, There were signs of strangulation and blunt force trauma before the burning. Her car GPS was a key piece of the puzzle. On the day Mustafa was killed, her vehicle was tracked to the spot where her body was later found. Police also matched a blood stain on her shoes to Mustafa's blood. So, how did investigators bring her down? It wasn't a single break, it was a web. After Nathvani went missing, his family raised the alarm in the UK. They hadn't heard from him in a long time, which was unlike him because he always kept in touch. Investigators noticed something odd. His bank card was still being used. In South Africa, every transaction, every ATM withdrawal was traced. Those transactions were linked to Zaheera's addresses and her vehicle. CCTV from her building and tracking her car placed her in the right place at the right times. At her home, police found multiple wills, some apparently forged, plus documents bearing different ID numbers. They recovered Nathvani's phone from her place. She had used it after his death, even looking up what happens if someone dies without a signed will, and tracking deceased estates. The blood-stained sneakers, signature analysis, and other physical evidence sealed the case. Her neighbor testified that she saw a man who would later be identified as Nathvani in Zaheera's unit. She also said she saw Zaheera pouring water on the driveway late at night as if she's cleaning something she doesn't want to be seen cleaning during the day. Behavior she later tried to explain away as plumbing problems. In May 2025, the Gauteng High Court delivered a scathing verdict. The judge found that the state had proven beyond reasonable doubt that Boomgaard planned and carried out the murders of both Nathvani and Mustafa. During the trial, she denied knowing her friend's will was forged and claimed she had the victim's consent to use bank cards. But the court rejected her explanations, noting that she adjusted her story to fit the facts. 3 psychiatrists from Sterkfontein Hospital assessed her. She claimed to hear voices, but they found her mentally fit to stand trial. On the 16th of May 2025, she was convicted of murder, multiple counts of theft, robbery and fraud by forging the will. She was acquitted of the 2012 murder of John Nisby. The evidence was too thin to get a conviction, and no body had ever been found. On 7th November 2025, she was sentenced to life imprisonment. The court considered her long history of prior fraud convictions from 1979, 1985, 1987, and especially the 2013 convictions as aggravating factors. Now pause for a second. Think about her age, in her 60s. Most people slow down, retire, spend time with grandchildren, go to church. You don't expect someone of that age to orchestrate cold, premeditated murder, fraud, forgery. But that's exactly what she did. She wasn't a young, impulsive criminal. This was calculated, patient, and manipulative. Getting away with so much before gave her confidence to eventually take lives because she thought chances of conviction were small. She had old cases, decades of fraud. That's not a one-time slip-up, but a lifetime pattern. Fraud in her 20s, 30s, 50s, and then in her 60s, murder. Her modus operandi reveals someone who used trust, affection, and vulnerability, the loneliness of elderly victims, and the ease of online communication to gain access. Then, once in, she struck, secured financial gain, and covered her tracks with forgeries. It raises a terrifying question. How many people truly know who they're talking to online? And who is truly innocent when someone disappears? As the court sentenced her, Families of the victims delivered emotional victim statements. They begged the court to never release her on parole. For the families of Nathvani and Mustafa, justice was delivered, but the wounds remain. For Naisby's loved ones, the question still lingers. Will they ever know what happened to him? Where is he? And for the rest of us, it's a stark reminder. Trust, especially online, can be weaponized. People who seem harmless may hide something far darker. Zaheera Boomgaard's life was anything but ordinary. At an age where many went down, she escalated, building a deadly web of lies, trust, and cold ambition. If you found this story compelling, please like, subscribe, and share. Not just for the shock value, but to highlight the warning. Trust is powerful and dangerous. Let me know in the comments. Which part of this case unsettled you the most? Her age, her deception, or the victims, and how she manipulated them? Thank you for watching, and stay curious, stay critical, stay safe.